my name is Father Bruno D'Souza. I'm a Passionist priest currently residing and ministering out of our Passionist Retreat Center here in Sierra Madre, California. Today is Ash Wednesday, and with it we begin the season of Lent. We begin our Lenten journey. The readings for today that we hear at Mass sets the tone for the rest of the Lenten season. St. Paul in his second letter to the Corinthians, which is our second reading for today, says, "Now is a very acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." The season of Lent during the liturgical year is then set aside for all of us to pause and reflect on our relationship with God and how that relationship with God then translates itself, unpacks itself in our relationship with all those people who form part of our lives. It is a time for introspection. It is a time for soul searching. It is a time to return to the Lord our God. Through the Lenten observances of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, we come closer to God and to our neighbor. Prophet Joel in our first reading invites us, "Rend your hearts," he says, "not your garments, and return to the Lord your God." Rend your hearts, not your garments. Hence the threefold task of praying, fasting, and almsgiving reminds us that we don't make this journey by ourselves. We are a people, we are a community, and we journey together. Prayer helps us to center ourselves as it connects us with God and also with other people. Think about this last 10, 11 months during the pandemic. Knowingly and unknowingly, we have prayed for people we know, people we don't know. We have prayed for our world, people who have been adversely affected by COVID-19 virus, people who have been sick with the virus, people who have become victims and died because of COVID-19. There have been people in our own families, people whom we know. We have prayed for our world, which is really struggling at this particular time in various ways. Lots of people have lost their jobs, and lots of people are feeling lonely, struggling from mental illness. And I think as a prayer community, we have lifted up ourselves in prayer and pray for all these people. When we pray, we become part of a larger praying community. Lenten fasting is not just about giving something for the next 40 days. Fasting can aid us in spiritual discipline during the season of Lent, but it should also enable us to stand in solidarity with all the brothers and sisters of ours who are less fortunate than we are, who have less than we have. As a practical tool, perhaps we can think of putting aside the money that we were planning to use to purchase the things that we have decided to give up during Lent, and use that money to help someone in need, maybe help a family at the end of the season of Lent. I think that would be a meaningful and spiritually enriching Lenten fasting. The virtue of almsgiving challenges us to appreciate the things that we have, to appreciate how God has blessed us in so many ways, but also invite us to think beyond ourselves. When we think about almsgiving, we usually think about money, we usually think about helping people with money or other things. But there are so many other ways that we can actually help people, reach out to people. We can reach out to people with our time, our listening ear, just being with people, our presence can make a whole world of a difference in some people's lives. There are so many other ways that we can reach out to people who need our support and our help. St. Paul, writing to the Corinthians in our second reading, also says, "We are ambassadors for Christ, as if God were appealing through us." What a beautiful invitation for us during the season of Lent. And so during the next 40 days, let us listen to the voice of God calling us to be His ambassadors. All three readings, my dear friends, are very clear about how we ought to go about our Lenten observances. It is definitely not a time to show off, as Jesus reminds us in our gospel today. Don't make a big show of your almsgiving, your prayer, your fasting. Rather, it is a time to bring our hearts to God in the quiet. It is a time to go about being ambassadors for Christ in quiet little ways, both personally and also in our works of charity. And so, my dear friend, if today you hear His voice, harden not your hearts. Have a wonderful Lenten journey.